Good morning and welcome to the Digital Giving Tuesday All-Star Panel. We have a lot to get into today, so I'm excited to welcome everyone here. I am Susie Lee. I'm the Director of Nonprofit Membership and Strategy at Forefront. And I have worked with I'll Give for 4 years with Giving Tuesday. I believe many folks on the call will have gotten the message that will be a little bit different this year. So after providing a platform to the state for the last 4 years, we realized that a lot of folks don't need kind of that extra support in that area. So this year we will not be offering a platform, but we still have webinars like these. We have an email series for support, and the Forefront staff are always here to connect and help you in all of your digital giving adventures. So today's focus, like I said, is our all-star panel, but I did want to cover a couple of housekeeping things before we dig in. So first of all, everyone is muted just to kind of keep things streaming along easily, but we very much welcome questions. So feel free to enter those into the chat or into the Q&A box. If you need to find those, you can usually hover sort of over the middle center of your screen and find those. You can enter questions at any time, and we'll cover most of them sort of at the end of each of the, at the end of our presentation. We are recording this session so that you can take a look back at it later or share it with a colleague. We'll also share the link to our first session that was earlier in September, the Giving Tuesday 101 series. So if you missed that one, you can still check it out. And I also wanted to open, so we have quite a few folks on the session today, so we won't be able to do round robin interviews, but we have a poll that's a little bit of getting to know you information. So I'm gonna open that right now. That helps our panelists make sure that they have a good sense of kind of who's in the room, and also so we can help tailor our answers towards the end. All right, so our plan today is to go through some of these great all-star presentations, and then we'll have open questions as a big group. We'll have one more poll talking about your own plans for Giving Tuesday outreach and activities, and then we'll have some resources at the very end to share with everyone. So it looks like most folks have filled out the poll. We'll leave that open for another minute or two. We've got, unsurprisingly, lots of development folks in the room. And wow, a really great mix of sizes of organizations. So that's awesome to see. All right, we've got 93% of folks have responded.
So close.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and end that one and share the results with everybody. And we'll start moving through our slides here. So Giving Tuesday, I'm sure, is all branded in everyone's minds already, but it's December 1st this year. This is one of the many images that you can get off of the Giving Tuesday page that's shareable on your own resources. So Giving Tuesday has hundreds of campaigns at this point. They are country campaigns, city campaigns, state, county campaigns. They're all over the country, all over the world. We've seen it grow and grow and grow and grow. So this actually chart just has through 2018 with the 400 million raised just on Giving Tuesday. In 2019, I believe it was over 500 million. So it keeps on growing the more folks that know about it and feel like they want to be engaged. And for folks that have seen my presentations before, I'm sure you've seen this slide. I always include it. So I think it just really gets to the heart of what Giving Tuesday is and why we do what we do. these are two folks that did their unselfies of why they decided to give, and saying that I'm a regular person, I have a little bit, I don't have millions of dollars, but I know that being a part of Giving Tuesday, I'm giving back as part of a movement, I'm making a difference. And I always like to center that for myself and for all of us in this work, because I think it's easy to get caught up in the, I have to write a social media post, I have to go to this event, probably not this year going to an event, going to a digital event, I have to get, X, Y, and Z done, and you get all wrapped up in the details. But it's nice to kind of come back to the whole purpose of it is connecting to the generosity of our whole community. And it's a really special day. So I'm thrilled that all of you are here and to be able to share in this work with you. And then especially another note for today that I think is really important, 80% of nonprofit leaders agree that innovation is incredibly important to their work, but only 40% that say they feel like they're set up to do that. So that's a big driver for why we do this all-star panel, is to talk about ways that we can do things a little bit differently. Another thing I really like about Giving Tuesday is it's still a little bit outside of our standard development calendar. I think for lots of folks it's becoming standard, but it gives you an opportunity to try some things out that might be different than what your organization normally does. So you can say, for this one day, we're going to see what it looks like to do a purely social media campaign, or to do an in-person event, or to do, whatever might be different for your organization. So I hope that today you'll be able to get some ideas that will inspire you to try out some new innovative ideas. And then one of the things that we've really been pleased with the ability to do over the last few years with the campaign is take a look at what makes folks successful on Giving Tuesday. And I was really surprised the first year I saw this, that the bar isn't so unbelievably high. I think it's something that many organizations can do. So again, folks that have seen my presentations before might be familiar with this, but for those that might not be, these are the top attributes of successful campaigns statewide. These are specific to Illinois, but they're really similar to the ones that we see nationwide. So most organizations that were successful publicly announced their campaign 2 to 4 weeks ahead of Giving Tuesday. They posted an average of 10 Facebook posts and 6 tweets, and that is in the week leading up to Giving Tuesday. The next one, sending out 3 or 4 emails on Giving Tuesday. I've got an asterisk there because I always want to be sure to mention that that's not to everyone in your entire network. We do get a little bit of pushback, usually the day after Giving Tuesday, of folks that are board members who say, I got 100 emails, I'm so frustrated, my inbox was full. Well, first of all, most folks aren't board members and don't get 100 emails on Giving Tuesday, but your board members and your major donors and your biggest supporters are probably not the folks that are going to be giving smaller donations on Giving Tuesday. So they're not your primary audience for that day. So when we talk about those 3 to 4 emails on the day of, we're talking about a segment of your audience. The next one is engaging peer-to-peer fundraisers. We know that organizations that do that raise usually 60% more than organizations that do not engage peer-to-peer fundraisers. So that's a really powerful one. And then the last piece is kind of one of my favorites because it's really quirky, is setting a goal for dollars raised that did not end in a 0. That is about having a specific goal that's tied to a real quantitative thing, like we bought 6 bicycles for our program, or we bought 4 months of art supplies for our program. We know that folks that give on Giving Tuesday tend to be people that like to think about their gifts like a physical gift almost. They like to think about the tangible thing that the impact that they're making. So setting your goal and tying it really closely to an actual thing is powerful for your donors. So that's it. Those are the most common traits of successful campaigns. And then we had originally scheduled to have our friend Leanne from Loving Bottoms Diaper Bank. Unfortunately, she had a family emergency today. So if folks can send some good thoughts her way, I'm sure she would appreciate it. But I did really love the campaign that they put together last year. So I wanted to share a couple of things. I grabbed a screenshot from their page from last year. So right off the bat, they've got this really beautiful family, super engaging photo at the top. And it's a screenshot, so you can't really see that much of the page, but you can already see that that orange bar with the 145%, that is the percent of the goal that they met. So we know that they had a successful day. And let's see why. In part, now they did have a round number goal, but they had a concrete goal, and they have these really first cute pictures. Again, babies are easy to engage with, but they also have a really concrete thing. What they do is diapers. So all of these donation amounts are the number of babies that you can impact with your donation. So they've hit a lot of points right away. They've got a clear ask. They've got different donation amounts that engage folks. They've got their goal set up. Even if you don't go with the non-round number goal, still set a goal. Again, we saw that organizations that set any goal amount were likely to raise 30% more than organizations that didn't have a goal set. So we really, really strongly encourage folks to set some kind of goal for their campaign. So these are some of the things just sort of off the top that I can share that I really liked about the Loving Bottoms Diaper Bank. Also, their name is adorable. Lily, I know you are in the area. Did you have some additional information about things that they did in person last year?
Yeah, hi everyone. I was really impressed by Leanne's creativity because she really thought about her audience and who she was trying to reach, and explored this idea that while we're trying to focus and drive traffic online and through our donation pages, that we have communities that we're connecting with in other ways, like email or even letters. So she paired a direct mail campaign with this, which was very successful. She hosted a diaper wrapping volunteer day to invite people to give who maybe didn't have a financial gift that they could give during that time, but wanted to help. And what a great way to invite new people into the organization. She had also employed some fundraisers to go around town and pass out these little heart bumper stickers that they had created. And so it was just a really great way to use those multi-channel fundraising and think about who you're trying to reach, and considering the fact that maybe not everybody is online. And we know that, you know, right now the way things are, thinking about how you engage offline is a little bit tricky, but I think there are still some really great ideas out there and some examples about how you can engage people in more meaningful ways, and hopefully continue to do that after the campaign.
Awesome. Thanks, Lily. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to turn it over to Ruth from Girls on the Run of Central Illinois.
Okay, let's see if we can get this going. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay. Oops. Going the wrong way. Here we go. Okay, hi everyone. My name is Ruth Finney and I am the Development and Marketing Manager for Girls on the Run. Thank you to Susie and the whole Forefront team for having me here to speak today. I think I'm coming up on my 2 years with the organization, so I don't know if I'm the most qualified person in the room to speak, but certainly we had a successful campaign last year, so I'm just excited to share our experiences and what worked well for us. If you haven't heard of Girls on the Run before, we are an after-school program for 3rd through 8th grade girls. And during our 10-week program, we help them train for a 5K, and at the same time, we're walking them through a curriculum that teaches critical life skills. Okay, so I'm gonna get right into it. Just a forewarning, I absolutely love numbers, so I'm gonna throw some numbers at you. I think they're actually really important and they give you insight into where you've come from. So to give you some context, our previous 3 years of individual giving for Giving Tuesday looked like this. So in 2016, we raised a little over 2,000 with 33 donors. 2017 was a little under with 28. And then 2018 was a little over 2,000 again with 39 donors. So we were very consistent in what we were bringing in. Then last year in 2019, we were able to raise $5,595 with a total of 92 donors. So we almost tripled our donors, which was very exciting. Some other quick numbers, 70% of those donors were actually first-time donors. So we were getting a lot of new faces, which was exciting. And then the average gift size was about $56. The next thing I'm going to show you is a pie chart that explains the donation sources in 2019. I think it's really important. And I feel like I'm going to reaffirm a lot of things that Susie just said. That was all really good and very true. It's really important to know where your donors are giving, why they're giving, because then you're able to market more effectively and you know where to put your time and energy in your next campaign. So here's ours. And as you can see, just like Susie said, peer-to-peer fundraising was huge for us at almost 50% of our total funds raised. So I'm sure you've heard it over and over again, but I'm here to tell you peer-to-peer is the way to go. And I just put a note there, about 1,000 of that was on the I'll Give platform. So you can see the blue slice that says 360, that was just for our Girls on the Run page, but peer-to-peer is all in that orange section. Our second largest chunk was email appeals, which was also very interesting to me because I've kind of felt that email can be kind of tired. I'm sure you found it's hard to get people to open your emails, let alone read them, let alone click and donate. But it was our second largest chunk, so still an important piece of the pie and can definitely be used effectively. After other, we had our Coffee for a Cause event, which I'll talk about in a moment, our general I'll Give Girls on the Run page. And then the smallest piece of the pie was our donate button on Facebook, coming in still at 255. So I would still recommend add that button to your posts. It takes no time at all. And we brought in a little bit of money there. So I wanted to go over just some general tips of things we learned. And again, I learned this from Forefront. So use a real number that you can explain as your goal. I think it's a really good idea to pick a number that doesn't end in 0 and something that has impact. So we picked 5,625, which would support full scholarships for 3 low-income teams. Anything you can do to help your donors visualize, where is my money going? What is my money doing? It will help them connect with your mission and help them want to give more. And so along with that, I don't know if you guys can see that graphic on the right, but we wanted to be able to show our progress throughout the whole day, and we extended our campaign for a few more weeks. So we wanted people to be able to celebrate milestones with us. So we used this little thermometer graphic that showed when we had funded 1 team, 2 teams, 3 teams, and what percentage of the way we were to our final goal. And people were really excited with us, which was fun to see. And also, you may find that people are much more likely to give when you are almost done with your goal, because a big number like 5,000, they're like, I can't really contribute to that. I can't even envision that. But when you have just a few hundred left, people are excited to give because they're helping you finish that goal. So along those lines, our most successful email subject line was, "We are so close, 177 left to go." People gave to that email, and that was our 4th or 5th appeal by that point. So we were kind of surprised by that. But and then the last thing we would recommend is, again, giving them those tangible donation options. So they know exactly where their $10 are going, where their $70 are going. And we also found it was important to use that you-centric language. So you, the donor, are providing race day snacks for our girls. You are funding 1 season of our life-changing program. Anything you can do to help them connect with your mission. Okay. I remember last year listening to this same webinar, And I noticed that something across the board, no pun intended, that was important was board involvement. And so we really internalized that, and we thought, how can we get our board involved? And so we came up with this sign-up sheet that we passed around at a board meeting, and every board member could sign up for one or more options. And this is what we gave them. So they could supply a matching gift for our campaign that we would advertise. They could set up their own peer-to-peer and seed it with a $25 donation. They could be a social media ambassador and, like, share, comment all of our posts. They could share emails with friends and family, or they could create their own video talking about, this is why I'm a board member and why you should give on Giving Tuesday. And we found that that was really powerful, because in the end, 58% of our peer-to-peer came from our board members. So I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to use your board. They are some of your best ambassadors. They believe in your mission. They're excited to spread the word, and they have a wide support system. So one thing I would note there, make the barriers to participating as minimal as possible. Make it as easy for your board to be involved as possible. So what I mean by that is, like, if we wanted someone to set up a peer-to-peer page, we sent them step-by-step how to do that with a template of, what they could put on why Girls on the Run is important to them, that they could customize a little bit. Or we sent them an email template, or we sent them questions that they could answer in their video. So make it as easier for your board to participate, and you will have a higher level of participation for sure. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about was our Coffee for a Cause event. So we actually did an event on December 3rd, where we partnered with Ronald McDonald House and Senior Services of Central Illinois. So we were in 3 local coffee shops that morning, and we just set up a table with a tip jar and some cards about our organization, and just asked people to give. And then also each coffee shop did like a give back. So they gave us 10 to 20% of the funds that they made that morning. And we found that it was a really great outreach event. We just talked about how you can engage offline. This is such a great way, because we're talking and interacting with people that would maybe never find our Facebook page or maybe never find our website. And so we were able to have some really neat conversations that morning and connect with people in the community. So, and then in the end, once we split all the funds, we were able to raise $405. So I feel like that was a good use of a couple hours in the morning, and also just a ton of fun. So if you know any friends in other nonprofits that you could maybe work with, I think coming up with events like this are really powerful and effective, a lot of fun. And also, I just wanted to know, a lot of grant makers are looking for ways that you're collabing with other nonprofits. So that's a great way to do that, and it's a win-win. I believe that's all I have for now. I think we're gonna have a Q&A session at the end, so feel free to ask me questions, but here's my contact information as well. Thank you all for listening.
Ruth, we did have one question come in asking if you could explain what you meant by a P2P page.
Okay, yes. So on the I'll Give website, anybody could log on to there and create their own page, personalized page that they could send to friends and family and say, hey, I'm fundraising for Girls on the Run. Would you donate to my page? So it's like P2P means peer-to-peer. So basically you're using your own connections and asking friends and family to donate for a certain nonprofit. So I'll Give does that. You can also do it through Facebook. If you've seen people set up like for my birthday, I'm raising money for the Humane Society or something. That would be a peer-to-peer fundraiser as well.
And we did have just one more. Did you pay for any Google or social media ads?
I don't think we did for this. We've done it for other fundraising events, but we didn't do any boosted posts for Giving Tuesday. That is a great way though. If you haven't done it before, Facebook makes it so easy and cheap. You can just put like $10 on an ad and then select a demographic and an area that you want it to go out to, and they do all the work. It's really great.
Awesome. Ruth, thank you so much. I think now we're ready to kick it over to Alex. Do you have the screen share ability for you?
Yes, I do.
All righty.
Here we go with any luck. So I'm not as good as Ruth, and I did not put like a cover letter with my information, but if anybody wants to get in touch with me, my email is alex@aptpchicago.org, and APTP stands for Albany Park Theater Project. And I want to say thank you to Forefront for inviting me. When they said come be an all-star panel, I was like, I don't know if I'm an all-star, but I'll come talk to you if you think that's helpful. And thank you to Ruth, because her advice and materials and observations were spot on. And I've never met Ruth before, but I hope that we can keep connecting after this. She's obviously a smart person, smart fundraiser. So APTP, Albany Park Theater Project, if you haven't heard of us, we're based in the Albany Park neighborhood of Chicago. And we are an organization that works with immigrant and first generation teens from the Albany Park neighborhood. And we create, in collaboration with the teens, original theater that tells the real life stories of their families, of themselves, of their community. And for those of you who don't know, Albany Park is a historically and currently extremely diverse neighborhood. There are 40 different languages spoken in the public schools in this neighborhood. And it's been a port of entry for immigrants coming to America, going back at least a century and a quarter. So that's a little bit about Albany Park Theater Project. In addition to creating the original theater, we also offer year-round programming, theater workshops, a college counseling program, mentoring, and free tutoring. So it's sort of the whole teen approach. So similar to Ruth, I wanted to give you some context for our Giving Tuesday experiences. So I was hired in 2016, and APTP was founded in 1997, but had never participated in a Giving Tuesday. And I got on board, and I was hired in September, and I was like, okay, we're gonna do this. And at that point, it was so new that I said, you know what, we're just gonna do it. No goal, no theme. It's our first Giving Tuesday. What we did do was we were very active on social media during the day and in the week leading up. And we also activated our board. And so we raised $6,638. And then the next year we changed a couple of things because we had a lot more time to plan. We created a video. Our email offerings were a little bit better planned. We had a much better thing to ask people for money for, which was our teens were invited to participate in the National Theatre of Scotland's Youth Theatre Exchange. And we wanted to raise money to help send our teen ensemble to Scotland. We had 111 donors, 36 new donors, 16 renewed lapsed donors. And so I love that Ruth gave the average gift size. And I think for ours, it's around $75. And that has been pretty consistent, but also pointing out that Giving Tuesday or Giving Days can be a great way to renew lapsed donors and to reach new donors. In 2018, the teens went on a trip to New York City to visit Ellis Island and the Tenement Museum in development for a big new show that we're going to be premiering next year called Port of Entry. So again, a very specific, exciting, kind of sexy ask. And we raised $24,134, which was fabulous. We had about the same number of unique donors, 23 new donors, 25 renewed lapsed donors. And I'm going to click my timer so I don't talk on and on. And then in that should be 2019, not 2020. We had a lot of things going on at APTP during the time of Giving Tuesday. We were actively running a show. We were launching a capital campaign. There was more going on that I can't remember because it was just so much. We also didn't have a very good sexy specific ask. We just asked for money for our middle school programs, and we set our goal too high. We set our goal at $25,000 because I got greedy and I was like, if we raised $24,000 last year, we can raise $25,000 this year. And we didn't meet our goal. But after a lot of reflection, I think it's fair to say that it's not that we didn't raise enough money, it's that we set our expectations too high. And I can talk a little bit more about that later. But I think it's important to be transparent. And sometimes you don't hit the mark and then you figure out, okay, what could we have done better? I will say, and I wonder if any of you had the same experience last year, we had a lot of problems with Facebook. Our boosted posts were kind of languishing in the approval state. They never really got boosted. Our posts were being, I don't know if you would call it suppressed, but they certainly weren't being foregrounded. And I did some comparison of likes on posts from 2018 and 2017 versus 2019. And the amount of people reached and the likes that we got were significantly less. And so I've spoken to a few colleagues that seem to have had a similar problem. And I'm not sure if it's because Giving Tuesday is such a saturated thing now, which is awesome. We want people to give and we want lots of people to be raising money. But it really drove home for me the fact that going forward, thinking of Giving Tuesday or any giving day is one tool in your annual fund toolbox is a wise thing. So I just made a PDF, so I'm not super fancy here. So the next slide, just some observations over 4 years of doing this at APTP and another 4 at a museum in Seattle where I used to live. Specific needs are always better than general needs, and authentic needs are always better than, okay, we need $25,000 for a program that we're probably going to do anyway, even if we don't meet our goal. People can sense that, and people really, again, you know, to echo what has been said previously on this webinar, specific needs are way more enticing, easier to understand. It makes sense to humans to give to a specific thing. One thing to keep in mind is Giving Tuesday can be, and for me is a lot of work for a relatively small piece of the annual fundraising pie for my organization, and that could be very different for other organizations. But if you're in a situation like mine where our budget last year was 1.4 million, $25,000 is, you know, 1 to 2% of the overall fundraising pie, which means that while we still want to be at the table and we still want to participate for a lot of reasons, maintaining perspective and managing expectations of leadership and board is key. And there might be other fundraising priorities that are more lucrative. And while participating in Giving Tuesday is a lot of fun and it's a great way to increase visibility and reach people that you're not going to reach using direct mail or other channels, perspective is a good thing to have. For me, keeping things casual and chatty seems to work really well. Giving Tuesday is not the time to be very formal, and just giving the overall appearance of keeping people up to date in the moment and spontaneity is really attractive. But it takes planning to appear spontaneous. So planning email posts, paying attention to scheduling social media posts ahead of time, even if the headline seems spontaneous, like this just in, matching up to X number of dollars, or we're so close, which is another thing that we used, Ruth, to great success, like we're almost there. All of those things seem really spontaneous, but we had queued them up already and we just popped the numbers in. Creating a sense of momentum and positive urgency seems important. And again, giving days are just one tool in your annual fund toolbox. And then finally, things to consider. You might want to weigh the pros and cons of segmenting out your major donors, which is something that I do every Giving Tuesday, because I usually have 20 people that I want to go to ask for specific amounts around fall. It's probably more than 20. And I I just don't want them getting confused or feeling like they're off the hook if they donate to Giving Tuesday, frankly. So I will segment them out of email communications. Goals are great. Consider setting an internal and an external goal, meaning your external goal, the one that you put on your giving profile or that you send out in your email, might be $10,000, but your internal goal might be 15. And then be prepared to meet and exceed your goal by having some stretch goals ready. We ran into this in 2017 and 2018, where we met our goal, but we wanted to maximize the opportunity and the excitement and the momentum. So we had some stretch goals prepared. You know, if we reach 20,000, we can add this to the New York trip. One thing that I always do is I email my heavy hitter Giving Tuesday donors ahead of time and personally email them, not like an e-blast, and ask them to renew at specific amounts. So it's very clear what I am hoping that they'll do. Like I said, pre-scheduling social media posts can help. Your production values don't have to be super great for this to be effective. I use PowerPoint and Canva for graphic design. They're super easy. Nobody will know the difference. It looks great. One thing I thought about is we have the luxury at APTP. We have a lot of really high quality images of our performances and even of our rehearsals and teen workshops. And that hiring a professional photographer to get some really high quality candid images, so like not the ones where everybody's kind of like facing the camera and like holding the plaque, but the ones where people are packing diapers to be sent away or whatever the case may be, you know, that investment can really go a long way and you can use it in multiple ways. And again, plan for spontaneity, you know, this just in, will we make it, you know, that positive urgency, making people feel like they're the hero that's going to take you across the finish line, can be really helpful. And those are my thoughts. 7 minutes and 28 seconds.
Alex, we had a question come in from Joshua Kaufman. Do you have any sense of how Giving Tuesday helps or hinders your other individual giving strategies? I know you touched on this a little bit, but could you talk about that a little more?
Sure. I would say that despite that being like a lingering concern for both board and leadership and me at one time, that really has not been proven to be the case. We are reaching definitely a different set of people through Giving Tuesday and our social media posts than we hit through our major giving, direct mail, those kinds of things. And if you're worried about that, I think the idea of considering segmenting out your major donors is maybe something you want to consider. Yeah, I think people, just looking at the numbers and the people that have donated is, you know, it is a Venn diagram, but the people that are participating in Giving Tuesday are kind of a different crowd, and it has not negatively impacted other fundraising channels. I hope I answered the question.
All right, I think so. Susie, we have a question that came in to either speaker. Do you want me to save that until we formally go into the Q&A, or are you ready for that now?
I think we're ready for that now. Do you want to cue those up?
Yeah, no problem. So we have one question from Aaron Drury to either speaker. Did you continue your Giving Tuesday campaign beyond the actual day? And how did that influence additional end of year fundraising strategies?
So we actually combined both of them. So we started our campaign on Giving Tuesday and kind of went through the end of December. So our wording and branding, I guess, sort of changed to more end of year giving for the last week or so. But yes, we definitely extended Giving Tuesday through the end of the month.
I'll just add that we didn't, but I think that's something we'll be considering more going forward. But we kind of kept it contained unto itself. I apologize. I have 2 cats and they are really doing their best to make some noise here. Sorry.
All right. And another question that came in was, how do you follow up with Giving Tuesday donors or incorporate them in ongoing communication? Great question.
We add our donors to our newsletter list, and we send out a newsletter every month that just gives the highlights of what's going on in Girls on the Run. And then, of course, we always send out thank you letters. I think this year we incorporated bookmarks with all of our thank yous. That was just a little, it had some Girls on the Run graphics and then some book recommendations on the back for them to read. We're definitely trying to think of other ways. I've heard of other organizations that have, based on your giving level, you get a different item, whether it be a bookmark or a calendar or a sticker or a bumper sticker. And even though those things are small, I think donors really enjoy them. So that is certainly something to consider when following up with your donors. But newsletter for sure, get them on that list so they can stay in contact with you.
Yay. For us, we do sort of something similar. We of course send a paper thank you letter to all Giving Tuesday donors that we have mailing addresses for, and we do a digital version for those who we don't. But it's a custom Giving Tuesday thank you that tells them, you know, the header is in just 24 hours you raised X amount of money, like the total. And so really putting it back on the donor to congratulate them and give them a sense of closure so they don't feel like, you know, they donated and it went into the void, never to be heard from again. And we keep that pretty short, but then about a month later, we send all new donors a new donor welcome packet, which is really, we keep it really simple. We include a copy of our latest newsletter, a one-pager about all of our programs, my business card, and then any recent press that we have. And then we might, if we have a sticker or something on hand, we'll include that as well. And again, that's a really chatty, warm, personal letter, like, so glad you're in our orbit now. Thank you so much. Call me anytime, that kind of a thing. And also a great way to like plug any upcoming events or whatever we've got going on at the time. But that question, reminds me that, you know, getting people on the list. So I think with giving days, it's important to define what success means for your organization, and success doesn't just have to be the total amount raised. It's also, for us, you know, the total amount raised is a small percentage of our overall budget, but it's one of the greatest ways we have for getting new people on the list, and that we can solicit them again, we can invite them to events, we can love on them. And without Giving Tuesday, we wouldn't have their contact information. So.
Awesome. Well, it looks like that is the end of the questions that we have at the moment. So again, I'd encourage anyone who would like to ask a question, feel free to throw that in the chat box or the Q&A. I'm going to pull up now a second poll. Here we go. All right, so this one is asking everyone that's here, what outreach or engagement activities are you planning for this year? That is open now. And if you do select the other option, there wasn't a way for you to enter anything. So if you select other and you're willing to share, please pop that into the chat with the group so that folks can know what those other things are. But we're going to use this poll. Ooh, so many folks responding. Thank you so much. We're going to use this to guide our conversation for the next part of the presentation. You all are fast with this stuff. It's almost like we've all spent 6 months on Zoom. 60% of folks have responded, so we'll give that another minute or so. While we're getting those poll responses in, I wanted to highlight another option for engaging with us in addition to these webinars. Lily, if you could share the link to the email series sign up. So Forefront is putting together what we call it a drip campaign of tips and tricks and lots of links to resources. So if you are interested in receiving that this year, Lily is going to put the link to sign up for our email series in the chat box. And that will be getting started in the next week or two as we're leading up to Giving Tuesday. So let's see, we're still going to keep the poll open for a moment, but from what I can see so far, it looks like the biggest two categories are setting a unique goal for Giving Tuesday campaign. That's awesome. And engaging peer-to-peer fundraisers. Oh, wait, there's another one. Creating 5 to 10 social media ready images. That's great. So Alex mentioned Canva and another one I can't remember.
PowerPoint.
Oh, PowerPoint. Yeah, I
And then
love
just
using PowerPoint to put
saving it as a JPEG or a PDF, or even screenshotting it if you're in a rush.
Great. So those two are really easy and essentially free. I'm wondering if other folks can share if you do video editing or photo editing tools that you have found. That would be super valuable to the group. And also looks like we had a question come in. So I'm going to go ahead and end the polling and share the results so everybody can see them. And then let's see.
The question that we had was if we had any recommendations for other free peer-to-peer tools, since we wouldn't be hosting the I'll Give platform this year.
Absolutely. So definitely Facebook is probably the most common option that folks are going to use. I think both Ruth and Alex mentioned that, you know, lots of us have probably seen those. It's my birthday, I'm raising money for XYZ. So that's a really common option that's available. Other ones, I believe on both the GoFundMe charity and Fundly, there is some version of peer-to-peer fundraising available. And also for folks that are interested, GiveGab is still very happy to host individual organizations. So if you are looking for a link to that, that will also be in our first email series. But there are definitely free options out there.
The only con I would say about Facebook is that you get very little information about your donors. So when they donate on Facebook, you as the organization, I think you get their name and maybe their email address if they choose to give that to you. So it is difficult for stewarding that donor after the fact because unless you're somehow friends with them on Facebook or you can connect with them through mutual friends, it's hard to follow up with those donors.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing, Ruth. I'm glad you brought it up first. It's like, is this right? Am I like missing something big? But I don't think I am. And we've had the same, I wouldn't say problem, but challenge. And it's great because you get the money, but you don't really get the long-term potential, as Ruth said. And for example, the executive director, producing artistic director of my organization has done a Facebook fundraiser kind of to supplement the IL Gives thing and reach his Facebook friends. And it's been great. We've made like a couple of grand just from that. But then I have to like hound him and be like, okay, we have to do this forensic investigation and like compare who donated and do we have their information. And the other thing to keep in mind is that Facebook will disperse those donations in one check through, I believe, Network for Good. So there's like a clearinghouse step where Facebook sends the money to Network for Good, and then Network for Good, it's either that or Benevity, will send you a big lump sum check. And not only do you not have a lot of donor information, I don't think we've even gotten emails in the past, but it comes 45 to 75 days later. So there is a lag time between people giving on Facebook and your organization receiving the like cash money, whereas Giving Tuesday through IL Gives or GiveGab or other platforms, they will disperse the cash much more quickly.
Great, thank you for sharing that. Did we have another question come in, Lily? Oh, Lily, I think you might be breaking up for a moment. So I'm going to see there's something in the chat. A note regarding Facebook. While you may not get details on donors, you can see it as a way to engage donors that would like to give in that capacity, same as Instagram. At our org, we have accepted these social donors in their own group, and they continually give. Yeah, they're definitely, thank you for that as well. I mean, of course, every organization has a different strategy of how they're going to work with those type of donors. I also know for those of you that are at large nonprofits that are, I believe the term is Facebook certified, which is a long process you can go through. You can get some donor information through that, but it takes quite a while to get that process. So there are pros and cons to different ways. And absolutely, if Facebook donors, if you keep that group as sort of their own little microcosm of donors, that's totally a way to handle that group.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I would just add as context for me, we have 7 full-time staff and we have 2 development staff. So we're a small organization employee-wise, and I think we have, I want to say like 1,500 active donors at the moment, maybe 2,000. And I have no idea, like it's big to some and small to others, but just to give you an idea, I'm sure if you're, I know with like direct service organizations that are really, really big, you know, tactics that they use would never work for us and vice versa. So just observations, not saying you should do what we do.
Right. And Facebook does have a lot of cons as well. It's easy to use, people understand it, and we're always trying to reduce the number of clicks, right, for our user. And so Facebook integrates that so quickly and easily. So there are a lot of cons for it as well. It's just kind of, yeah, your needs as an organization.
It's free to try though. Give her a shot.
That's right.
And then we've also had success with board members in particular who have done peer-to-peer fundraising separate from Giving Tuesday just for their birthday or what have you, and have just sent personal emails to their people and linked directly to our giving page. So peer-to-peer fundraising doesn't have to be super fancy. You can just do it that way.
True.
Yeah, Alex, thanks for mentioning that. That reminded me of an organization, I think this is a couple years ago that I saw this example. So especially when I was getting started working with Giving Tuesday here in Illinois and with the nonprofits, I would randomly pick a couple that I had never heard of and send a small donation just to sort of see what the experience was like from the donor perspective. Mm-hmm. And it was very educational in lots and lots of ways. There were lots of really cool ways that folks engaged afterwards. Like Alex, you mentioned the thank you packet, and Ruth, you mentioned the bookmarks. Those are super cool. But I have to say, from the donor experience, there were also quite a few of them that I got sort of the tax information in this very bland text-only email that was sort of this is what you mandatory have to share, and then I never heard from them again. And so I think, you know, if you think of yourself in the donor shoes, what do they hope happens? I mean, again, going back to the fact that lots of Giving Tuesday donors are thinking about it like a tangible gift. So if you're thinking about somebody that, you know, got you a birthday gift or a wedding gift or whatever, it's always great to send a thank you note, and it's great to make that a personal message. So really take advantage of that, because I think it makes a big impression on donors either way. If they get one that is a personal note, or if they don't get one at all, it makes a lasting memory.
And I feel like anything you can do that's handwritten as well is great, whether, you know, it's not feasible probably to write handwritten thank you letters to every donor, but putting a note at the bottom, thank you, their name for your generous donation or whatever. Or even like on our envelopes, we try to handwrite the name and their address, just anything to make it feel a little bit more personal, not like it's coming from some corporate entity, but it's a human to human connection. Even using a real stamp, there are lots of ways that you can make it feel a little bit more like real mail, and we are thankful for you as a person giving to our organization.
We also have a program where we actually pay 3 or 4 teens on a rotating basis to write handwritten thank you notes to donors, and we work with them to like draft a thank you note and make it really personal, and then they have the draft and they just copy it out. And I guess it's kind of deceitful, but I don't really feel like it. They really put their heart into it, and they love, and sometimes donors will write them back, which is really exciting. But I am shocked, like the handwritten note is still the most powerful tool, you know, despite all the bells and whistles.
Mm-hmm.
I will second both of those and also bring up another example I heard from an organization. They were really small staff. I think they only had 2 or 3 paid staff members, but they had a board that was fairly large, like 10 or 12, I want to say. But still, if you get in hundreds of donations, ideally, then that's a lot of handwritten notes, right? So what they did was they gave each board member at a board meeting a packet of Post-it notes, and they just had like 1 sentence and signed their name, and that Post-it note got stuck on all of the pre-printed flyers. So even if it wasn't a full handwritten note, it still had a little bit of handwritten, and it was from a board member, and something that they could get done while they were having a board meeting. So it didn't add any additional time to anyone's day. I thought that was super innovative and a really great use of time. So there are lots of different ways that you can engage folks that way. Lily, it looks like maybe we have a couple more questions. Do you have a sense of which one we should answer first?
Well, there was somebody who just added on to the comments about handwriting. The handwritten part is a great point. I've been a supporter of APTP for several years, and last year received a handwritten note from a student that made a big impression on me. So evidence right there that it can go a long way. A question that came in was just curiosity about how long it takes to get the donate button on Facebook. If anybody has any insight on that. This individual applied in mid-August, and I'm assuming hasn't received any follow-up since then, if that's normal or if they need to do any follow-up on their end.
I do not remember the process on that. I'm sure it happened before I was there, so I don't know if Alex has insight.
I'm sorry, I don't, but my experience with Facebook is, you know, it's like the mystery and the enigma of Facebook. And, you know, sometimes, like the same thing with the boosted posts, you know, usually the boost comes through and ours languished for days. And I guess that's why I feel hesitant to put all my eggs in the Facebook basket, because I just never know what's going to happen. I'm sorry, I don't know.
And they have no customer support, which is great. Right. So if you have a question, you can throw it on their forum and see if anyone in the world knows the answer, but usually you get no answer to your question.
Sad.
All right, so it looks like we unfortunately don't have a great answer for that Facebook button, but we'll all send happy thoughts your way and hope it comes through soon.
Susie, there was a question that came in earlier that I asked if we could wait to ask it until the end. It was a really big and good topic. So I will share that from Jessica Wellbank. She said, my organization does our major fundraiser as a peer-to-peer style fundraiser in the summer. Since it hasn't been that long since our last P2P fundraiser, do you think it's too soon to try and set up another one for Giving Tuesday? Do you think our constituents will want to jump into it? And I think we've hit that just a little bit throughout the conversation, but would love if you have any more thoughts to share on that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know your constituents and your stakeholders the best. So I would say first and foremost, trust your gut. But in addition to that, I would say Giving Tuesday, the national staff have done some really interesting research. You know, ever since Giving Tuesday first started, there was a lot of pushback of like, oh, we're making too many asks. We're into people's faces too much. They're going to be annoyed with us. They're going to go away. We're going to lose all our donors. And they've done some really interesting research a number of times that the idea of donor fatigue, it's certainly real, but it doesn't function quite the way we have thought in the past. So I think one of the things that they learned is, you know, folks were worried if there's a big, they did some research specifically after some of the hurricanes a couple of years ago to see if there was a decrease in donations, and there wasn't. So even when there were natural disasters, and I would guess, obviously I don't have a crystal ball, but I'm guessing the donor activity in the pandemic is going to be similar in some capacity to giving for natural disaster crises, that there really wasn't a decrease in asks, a decrease in activity from donors. So I would say, even though it hasn't been a long time, if your ask is unique and if your call to action is unique, that there's a good chance that folks will be interested in engaging.
I definitely agree with that. Adding on to that, we had Giving Tuesday Now. Was that in May?
Mm-hmm.
So, and we were also very unsure, like, well, we just had Giving Tuesday, you know, 6 months ago. Are our constituents ready for another ask? But people were very generous, and I definitely agree, if there is a need, people are willing to give. And I think, I don't know where the statistic came from or how accurate it is, but I've heard that only 10% of your followers in general see each Facebook post or whatever social media post. So if you're posting again, you may get a different 10%. Like, there is always opportunity for people who didn't see your previous campaign to give now. And I think having a crucial need, like we've been hit by a pandemic and we've had to cancel fundraising events, people are so generous. We just did our mailed appeal again this summer, and within like 2 weeks, we've already passed the previous 4 years of giving. So we were so unsure, you know, people are in hard times. Are they willing to give? And the answer, I think, is yes, if you have a genuine need.
Yeah, I co-sign all of that, and I'll just add that I think for development professionals or people that work in nonprofits, it seems to us like we just ask people for money because we are working on this all the time, and there's pre-work, and then there's during work, and then there's post-work. But 6 months is a long time, and I think I would encourage you to ask more rather than less. People are generous, and I always think of it like, you know, we're offering them a value proposition. We're offering them the opportunity to be a part of something really excellent that they would not otherwise be a part of, and to not be apologetic about that in any way. Let people make the decision whether they want to give or not, and don't like preemptively make that decision for them, because there are so many times in my career where I wish I would have asked more or more often and not just assume the worst. But again, like Susie said, you know, trust your gut too.
Awesome. Thank you both. So I wanted to share a couple of more things. I think there are a number of folks from the Aurora area that might recognize the pictures on the screen right now. Out there, we've got a great partner in the Dunham Fund, who the last several years has organized nonprofits around the Giving Tuesday effort. And they have worked together to get these live signs that you can see on, they have some billboards out there. You can see there are some church signs. I've heard that they've got it on, you know, somebody's dentist put it up on their sign. So they've got, you know, in addition to folks seeing it on social media, they're also seeing in-person signs around the community. So this is just another way that you can engage folks. It's in person in so much as they're driving by their car and they're actually seeing a real sign out in the world and not on a computer screen or on their mobile. So that's another thing that we can still do this year, even with social distancing. And there we go. I also wanted to share again, Giving Tuesday has put together some images like these that are current. Obviously, you know, got folks in masks that it wasn't a message from last year. This is happening right now. So these are downloadable free resources. We've got the link there, and I think I might have sent that one to Lily to post in the chat. I hope I did. If not,
I will post it in the chat again.
awesome, thank you. So that's available to folks. You can go and download. They've got a number of different social media messages. As I mentioned in the beginning of this session, they've got a great save the date for Giving Tuesday that you can download and use as it's helpful to you. And then it looks like we might have just had another question come in, but I did want to post contact information for myself and Lily. And there were a couple of other resources I wanted to share. Again, this message was, this webinar was recorded, so we will share the link shortly. And I believe we have the link from the last recording we can put in the chat box if you missed it or want to review it or share it with a colleague. And then also for our next webinar, which will focus on a communications timeline. That one is coming up on October 6th. And I'm going to take a look. Do we have some more questions that came in?
That's me putting the links
Oh,
and
great.
updating the links. Yeah.
Good deal. Thank you, Lily. I'm going to go ahead and say my thanks so much to Ruth and Alex. You were definitely all stars. You have wonderful ideas, and thank you for your openness to taking time this morning and sharing with the community. We really, really appreciate you. And to everyone on the call, you're all stars. If you are working on Giving Tuesday, you're engaging your community. I celebrate and affirm you, and I thank you for the work that you do. So I hope today's webinar was helpful. I hope you felt a little bit connected to the world. I know that every time I get on one of these with more than, you know, the 4 or 5 faces that I see on a regular basis, it's really nice to feel like, oh yeah, the rest of the world is still out there. So I hope you got that today as well. And we're ending a little bit early. I hope that gives you some time to rest or get another project done. So have a great day, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, everyone.